With the success of Oscar-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the sequel looks much bigger than the first one. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse released its first official trailer recently, and it hints at Spider-Man himself being a villain. But how's it going to affect the Spider-Verse's future? In today's video, we'll talk about how the sequel is great for Miles Morales' MCU feature. So let's dive in. Up first, Sony's Spider-Verse can lead to Miles' solo film. Let's get one thing straight. Sony put a live-action Miles Morales movie in the same universe as Venom and tried to keep it separate from the MCU. That is, if they decide to make one. Given how well Spider-Man has done in the MCU, we don't think this will happen. When the Spider-Verse trilogy is over, it'll be the right time to think about how to bring Miles into the MCU. We think Marvel and Sony should plan for Miles' future, but they should wait before making a Miles-only movie. The main reason is that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is too young to be finished at this point in the story. One good thing about Holland is that he was cast young, so that his version of Spider-Man could last for a long time. But this could mean that Miles' Spider-Man is still a ways off. One of the most interesting aspects of Miles and Peter is the diverse experiences and accomplishments that they have achieved throughout their lives. This dynamic is enhanced by the fact that Peter is older and Miles is younger. To be fair, if Peter is the same age as Miles when he first becomes Spider-Man, the two might look too much alike. Miles' introduction would be better in the long run if they waited a little longer. This is especially true since Spider-Man No Way Home showed that John Watts' trilogy was Tom Holland's Spider-Man origin story, followed by will Miles and Holland's Spider-Man coexist in the MCU? It's unclear if Holland's Spider-Man will remain on after Miles is introduced, or if he'll move on. Holland has already said he's taking a moment away from the character, but it's not clear if that's for good. One of the greatest things about Miles and Peter is that they work together as teacher and student. If Holland stays on, it will show how far Peter has come as a character and give Miles a different kind of backstory because he'll have someone to talk to. They could even show Miles in Holland's Spider-Man 4 without any powers so that his return and backstory could be shown in a different movie. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse shows that Miles' MCU debut won't be the end of the world if Holland isn't there. Miles is a strong character on his own, and it'd be just as interesting to see him figure out how to use his powers on his own. On the other hand, having Holland's Spider-Man alongside Miles would add a new layer of story to live-action Spider-Man movies that haven't been seen before. Either way, Miles Morales' MCU debut can't be too long away if Sony's Spider-Verse keeps being bold and new. Up next, is Across the Spider-Verse bringing back Andrew Garfield? This is a quick shot, and it's important to remember that it doesn't prove Garfield is in the movie. The costume could be worn without him. Still, Sony would want more than just an Easter egg. They'd want a clear reference, something that'd get fans talking. On the other hand, a cameo would be a big deal because it'd show that these Spider-Verse movies are part of the same multiverse as Sony's live-action movies, and by extension the MCU. This would make a small mistake in continuity because technically it'd mean that the MCU multiverse has two Earths named 616, but it's the kind of thing that only die-hard fans would notice. It's interesting that the Spider-Man is shown talking to a different version of himself who's wearing a black costume, which Spider-Man usually wears when he's going through a tough time. Garfield's Spider-Man could be trying to help a brother Spider by talking to a black-clad version. Garfield is a fan at heart, and every interview shows how much he loves Spider-Man. He deserved more than the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which ended quickly and didn't give him a chance to show what he could do. That started to change with Spider-Man No Way Home when fans liked his Spider-Man the most out of all three. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse should help redeem this version of the character even more so. We hope Sony will keep going in this direction. Finally, MCU would struggle if it takes any longer to introduce Miles. Even though Miles Morales has his own movie, he's not a part of the MCU at the moment. Although Across the Spider-Verse might not change this, which is animated and won't exactly be canon for Earth 616 and the current MCU, it still seems pretty clear that Marvel is running out of time to introduce the teen in a live-action MCU movie. There are a lot of problems that make it difficult for him to be a part of the well-known Marvel universe. Miles Morales has been in many of Marvel's comics, games, and animated movies, so he already has fans who love him. Plus, Marvel fans love the animated Spider-Man movies even more than they used to. Also, as fans become more attached to Miles in animation, it is more likely that Miles won't do as well in real life. On top of that, as the Spider-Verse movies continue, they keep going deeper into Miles' character. Since his story has already been told in depth, the MCU won't have much to work with. If Marvel waits too long to add the next Spider-Man to the MCU, fans will likely lose interest. If this character is put off any longer than the coming sequel, it could hurt the series as a whole. Let's talk about hidden details you might have missed in Across the Spider-Verse trailer. First up, Miles leaves the nest. In Into the Spider-Verse, Miles' relationship with his father figures is a big part of the story. But in Across the Spider-Verse, his relationship with his mother, Rio, voiced by Luna Lauren Velez, is getting more attention. Also, Miles' conflict with his other life as Spider-Man could come up again in the Spider-Verse sequel. Rio says that she and Miles' dad worked hard to make sure Miles always felt loved and accepted. At the same time, the trailer flashes back to Miles in Into the Spider-Verse with Gwen Stacy, aka Ghost Spider, and Peter Parker, a Spider-Man from another universe. Miles has grown up, and Rio knows that. Even though she doesn't know how bad it is, she knows it's now up to him to keep himself safe and make sure he always feels like he belongs. It builds on the idea of the first Spider-Verse movie, which was about Miles' journey to becoming one of many Spider people. But since the sequel will have new heroes, it might be hard to remember this lesson. Up next, all new and all different Spider people. Since the main characters in Into the Spider-Verse are all different versions of the same well-known hero, the movie set a new standard for ensemble casts. Across the Spider-Verse is doing twice as much, or maybe even 3 times as much as its predecessor. In the trailer, you can see different versions of Spider-Man from all over the comics, and even from the popular game Marvel's Spider-Man by Insomniac. A new Spider-Woman version, voiced by Issa Rae, stands out from the many other versions shown in the trailer. Many Spider-Man fans already know and love Jessica Drew, but her sleek design and natural hair give her a new look. In the trailer, she can be seen duking it out with a different kind of vulture, likely the one that Jorma Taccone voices. Along with the trailer, Sony also showed a few concept images of Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk, whose voice is done by Daniel Kaluuya. These are of people who are still waiting for him. Sony also showed off the new look for Spider-Man India, Pavatar Prabhakar. The first preview of the Spider-Man sequel hinted at a version of Pavatar's own world, Mumbattan. Now that we know Pavatar himself will be involved in the fight, and with such a cool new look, it's music to our ears. Followed by putting the dad bod to good use. It's hard to think of a Spider-Verse sequel without Peter B. Parker, the character who's voiced by Jake Johnson and is an unlikely fan favorite. In the film Into the Spider-Verse, Peter grapples with a number of personal issues. His time as Spider-Man was almost over, and his marriage to Mary Jane Watson, voiced by Zoe Kravitz, was in bad shape. Peter seems to have followed his own advice to take a leap of faith. He and Mary Jane haven't only gotten back together, but they've also started a family since we saw them last. In Across the Spider-Verse, Peter is funnily underdressed, but this time he's wearing a baby carrier over his Spider-Man suit. His daughter, Mayday Parker, won't be joining him on his adventure, but she becomes a famous web-slinger in the comics. May was Spider-Girl for a short time in an alternate universe, and she got a lot of fans in the late 1990s. We already know there'll be at least one more Spider-Verse movie, so May take over for her dad when he eventually stops being Spider-Man. Lastly, Spidey Civil War. The Spot, who Jason Schwartzman voices, is the main bad guy in Across the Spider-Verse. Surprisingly, we haven't seen the new bad guy in any trailers. Instead, Miguel O'Hara, known as Spider-Man 2099 and voiced by Oscar Isaac, has been shown as Miles' main enemy, especially in the most recent Spider-Verse trailer. The movie's synopsis confirms that the Spider Army will have to deal with a new threat, which must be the Spot. However, it looks like some Spideys won't agree on how to deal with the bad guy. In the trailer, Miles is being chased by many Spider people before he finally faces Spider-Man 2099. Gwen says at the end of the trailer, "We're supposed to be the good guys." Miguel replies, "We are." Spider-Man movies have always used a clash of ideals as the main conflict, and it's clear that Across the Spider-Verse will follow this well-worn path. Even though Sony is keeping most of the story's details secret for now, it's not hard to figure out where it's going. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on the new Spider-Verse trailer? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.